Commander Jack Reynolds stared out the viewport of Orbital Security Station 7, his coffee mug hovering halfway to his lips as he watched the diplomatic vessels arrive. Another day, another delegation of aliens come to marvel at the human habitat like it was some kind of cosmic zoo exhibit. 4 years since retirement from active military service, and here he was, glorified space mall cop. Commander, the Thoraxian ambassador requests permission to dock. Again. The voice of his assistant, Miguel, crackled through the combs. Jack sighed. Let me guess. They forgot something critical like their third breathing apparatus or ceremonial butt scratcher? Actually, sir, they claim they left their translator matrix behind. For the third time this month? Either they're the most forgetful species in the galaxy, or they just like watching us scramble around. Jack took a long sip of his coffee. Permission granted. Direct them to Bay 4. And Miguel? Yes, sir? Make sure they understand that we are not, I repeat, not providing complimentary digestive bags this time. The cleaning crew is still having nightmares. As Jack turned back to the viewport, a flash of light caught his attention. It wasn't the usual sparkle of approaching ships or the gentle glow of the station's exterior lights. This was something different, a ripple in space that seemed to fold in on itself before bursting outward in a dazzling array of colors. Miguel, are we expecting any quantum jumps today? The silence that followed lasted precisely 3 seconds too long. No, sir. All scheduled arrivals are accounted for. Jack's military instincts kicked in immediately. Sound the alert. Priority channel to Earth Command. We've got unidentified. The rest of his sentence was cut off as the station rocked violently, throwing him against the reinforced glass. Through the viewport, he watched in horror as hundreds, no, thousands of obsidian ships poured through the spatial rift, their segmented hulls gleaming like wet carapaces under the distant sun. The peaceful era of humanity's cosmic mediocrity had just come to an abrupt end. Casualty reports coming in from New Montana Colony, sir. Admiral Helena Park stared at the holographic display, her face illuminated by the red warning indicators that seemed to multiply by the second. The attack had been swift, brutal, and completely unexpected. 12 hours since first contact, and already 5 outer colonies had gone dark. 87% of the population. Her voice trailed off. Unaccounted for, corrected the junior officer. Not confirmed casualties. Park shot him a look that could have melted steel. After what we saw happen to Titan Station, unaccounted for is a goddamn pleasantry. The footage from Titan had been streaming when the transmission cut out, colonists being herded into massive organic-looking pods by creatures that moved with an unsettling synchronicity. Aidland, chitinous beings with compound eyes that reflected no light, no emotion, no individual thought. The Vex, said Dr. Arthur Fleming, the xenobiology specialist who had been rushed to headquarters as soon as the attack began. At least, that's what the Ardelians called them in their ancient texts. We thought they were extinct or mythological. Well, they're neither extinct nor a myth, Doctor, Park snapped. What we need now is information. Weaknesses. Battle strategies. Anything. Fleming adjusted his glasses nervously. From what little we've translated, they operate as a hive mind. No individual consciousness as we understand it. They expand, consume, assimilate. Resistance is. He hesitated. If you say futile, I'm demoting you to bathroom attendant, Park warned. I was going to say historically unsuccessful, Fleming replied with a weak smile. Park turned to her communications officer. Get me the Galactic Council. Emergency session. Tell them Earth calls in all favors and treaty obligations. Already tried, Admiral. They're deliberating. Park's knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the command console. Deliberating. While my people are being harvested like crops. They've scheduled an emergency session, the officer added hopefully. How kind of them, Park muttered. Commander Reynolds? Jack, who had been evacuated from the station just before it was overwhelmed, stepped forward. Yes, Admiral? Congratulations. You're officially unretired. I need someone to represent humanity at this joke of a council meeting, and your particular brand of diplomacy might be just what we need. Jack raised an eyebrow. My particular brand got me suspended 3 times for excessive frankness with alien dignitaries. Park smiled grimly. Exactly. The Galactic Council chamber was a magnificent display of cooperative engineering, a floating citadel where representatives from over 200 species could gather in atmospheric conditions suitable to all. Today, it felt more like a funeral parlor. Jack stood at the human podium, fighting the urge to start throwing things at the assembled diplomats. For 2 hours, he had listened to expressions of concern, offers of limited humanitarian aid, and carefully worded statements about non-intervention policies. Ambassador Telekfor, a tall, willowy being with luminescent skin that shifted colors with her emotions, currently a somber blue-gray, was one of the few voices of reason. As representative of the Luminari, ancient allies of humanity, she had been pushing for immediate military action. The Vex are not merely invading human space, she insisted, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. They are an existential threat to all sentient life. The histories of my people speak of entire civilizations lost to their hunger. Histories and legends, dismissed Ambassador Zruk of the Taurian Confederacy, his bovine features arranged in what passed for skepticism in his species. While regrettable, the human situation appears to be an isolated incident. Jack could no longer contain himself. Isolated? Isolated? They've taken 5 colonies in less than a day. Millions of people are dead or worse, and you're sitting here debating whether it's worth your political capital to help? Commander Reynolds cautioned the council moderator, a gelatinous entity whose name Jack couldn't pronounce even when he wasn't furious. Emotional outbursts are counterproductive. You know what's counterproductive? Jack stepped away from his podium, ignoring protocol. Sitting on your various anatomical features while a hostile force that literally consumes other species advances unchecked. Where do you think they'll go after they're done with us? You think they'll just pack up their hive ships and go home? Uncomfortable murmuring filled the chamber. The Taurian Confederacy extends its deepest sympathies, Zruk began, but our military doctrine prevents engagement in conflicts that do not directly. Spare me the bureaucratic garbage, Jack interrupted. I've seen your military doctrine. 3 of your battle cruisers are currently parked in orbit around Earth for a cultural exchange. Funny how that culture doesn't extend to actual assistance. Ambassador Kfor moved to stand beside Jack, her skin flushing a supportive gold. The Luminari will commit our fleet to the human defense. We have 20 ships ready to deploy. 20 ships against thousands, Jack said quietly. Thank you, Ambassador, but I think we're beyond conventional help now. The council moderator wobbled indignantly. What exactly are you implying, Commander? Jack's comm unit buzzed, and he glanced down to see an encrypted message from Admiral Park, Protocol Omega authorized. Get back here. He looked up at the assembled diplomats, a slow, unsettling smile spreading across his face. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings, I regret to inform you that this session has been a colossal waste of time. But don't worry, we humans have a saying for situations like this. And what saying is that? Asked Zruk condescendingly. If you want something done right, do it yourself. And when someone unleashes hell on your doorstep. Jack's smile turned predatory. You finally have a reason to get really nasty. With that, he turned and walked out, leaving a chamber full of confused and concerned aliens in his wake. The bar was dark, smoky, and exactly what Jack needed after the diplomatic disaster. He hadn't expected much from the council, but their callous dismissal still stung. He was nursing his second whiskey when a familiar voice cut through his brooding. Still drinking that piss-poor excuse for bourbon, I see. Jack didn't need to turn around. If it isn't Commander Eliza Banshee Ortiz. They let you out of that Black Ops hole you've been hiding in? Eliza slid onto the stool next to him, motioning to the bartender for the same. Her dark hair was cropped short, military style, but the mischievous glint in her eyes was unchanged from their days in the academy. Special circumstances, she said, accepting the drink. Word is you told the Galactic Council to go fuck themselves. Diplomatically speaking. There's nothing diplomatic about you, Reynolds. She clinked her glass against his. That's why they called me in. Park thinks we need your unique perspective on this operation. Jack raised an eyebrow. What operation? Last I checked, we were getting our asses handed to us by spacebugs, and our so-called allies were sending thoughts and prayers. Eliza leaned in closer, her voice dropping to just above a whisper. Protocol Omega. Jack nearly choked on his drink. That's still a thing? I thought it was scrapped after the peace accords. Officially? Yes. Unofficially? Eliza's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. We've been very busy while you've been playing hall monitor on that station. Protocol Omega was a last resort contingency. A doomsday plan. Jack shook his head. The kind of thing that gets entire species blacklisted from polite galactic society. Good thing we're not interested in being polite anymore. Eliza finished her drink in one swallow. We found something, Jack. On one of the Vex ships that crashed near Europa Outpost. The eggheads are calling it a neural node. In English, Banshee. It's how they communicate. The hive mind isn't magic, it's technology. Advanced, organic technology, but still something we can understand. And if we can understand it, we can disrupt it, Jack finished, feeling the first flicker of hope since the attacks began. Better. Eliza's eyes gleamed. We can hack it. Turn it against itself. But we need a delivery system. Someone who can get close enough to their primary hive ship to implant the virus. Jack leaned back, studying his old friend's face. And let me guess. You volunteered me for this suicide mission? Actually, I volunteered us. Like old times. She stood up. But first, we need to put together a team. The kind of people who don't mind bending a few galactic laws and ethical guidelines. I might know a few candidates, Jack admitted. Starting with a demolitions expert who owes me a favor after I kept her out of an Arcturian prison. Perfect. We leave in 3 hours. Eliza tossed some credits on the bar. Oh, and Jack? You might want to pack light. Where we're going, standard human military gear isn't going to cut it. What exactly are we going to be using? Eliza's smile was positively wolfish. The kind of stuff that would make our alien friends wet whatever passes for their pants. The hangar bay was supposed to be empty. That's what Admiral Park had promised. A secure, isolated facility where Protocol Omega could be initiated without prying eyes. Which is why Jack was surprised to find Ambassador Kvor waiting beside the unmarked shuttle. Ambassador, he greeted cautiously. This is an unexpected pleasure. Kvor's skin rippled with patterns of determination and concern. Commander Reynolds. I suspected your government would not accept defeat so easily. Eliza stepped forward, hand resting not so subtly on her sidearm. This is a restricted area, Ambassador. How did you get clearance? I have served as liaison to Earth for 15 standard years, Kvor replied calmly. I have friends in many departments. Including some who believe that humanity should not face this threat alone, regardless of the Council's decision. Jack and Eliza exchanged glances. Are you here to report us? Jack asked bluntly. No. Kvor's skin flushed a deep, resolute purple. I am here to join you. The Luminari remember the last Vex incursion, 10,000 years ago. My ancestors developed weapons specifically designed to combat them, weapons we have maintained in secret despite treaty prohibitions. Now you're speaking my language, Eliza said with newfound respect. A commotion at the hangar entrance drew their attention. Dr. Fleming was hurrying toward them, accompanied by a tall, athletically built woman with auburn hair and a scowl that could curdle milk. Commander Reynolds, Fleming called, slightly out of breath. May I present Dr. Maya Quinn, our foremost expert on xenobiology and less conventional warfare techniques. The woman extended a hand to Jack, her grip firm and no nonsense. Fleming's being diplomatic. I design weapons that target specific alien physiologies. The kind of stuff that violates about 16 different galactic conventions. Why haven't I heard of you before? Jack asked, intrigued. Because officially, I don't exist. Neither does my lab. She nodded toward the shuttle. Is that our ride? Looks like something my nephew would build with construction toys. The appearance is deliberately unimpressive, Kvor explained. What matters is what's inside. As if on cue, the shuttle's loading ramp descended, revealing a cargo hold filled with containers bearing warning symbols Jack had never seen before. Standing amid the dangerous-looking cargo was a burly man with a thick beard and cybernetic enhancements visible along his right arm. Captain Marcus Webb, at your service, he announced with a theatrical bow. Engineering genius, weapons specialist, and occasional ethical nightmare. I hear we're going to introduce some bugs to the concept of human ingenuity. Jack looked at the assembled team, a disgraced military commander, a black ops specialist, an alien diplomat, a xenobiologist with questionable ethics, and a cyborg weapons developer. It wasn't exactly the elite strike force he'd imagined, but it was what humanity had. Admiral Park has authorized full deployment of Protocol Omega assets, Eliza announced, addressing the group. The first wave of prototype ships is already being prepared. Our job is to identify the Vex command structure and deploy Dr. Quinn's neural disruptor. And if that fails? Fleming asked nervously. Jack exchanged a look with Eliza before answering. Then we move to Plan B. Which is? Maya pressed. We introduced the galaxy to humanity's greatest hits in terms of things we probably shouldn't have developed but did anyway, Jack said grimly. Starting with antimatter warheads and ending with quantum destabilizers that could theoretically tear a small hole in reality. The hangar fell silent as the implications sank in. Well, Marcus finally said, rubbing his hands together with inappropriate enthusiasm, I always wanted to go out with a bang. Literally. As they boarded the shuttle, Jack caught Kvor studying him with an unreadable expression, her skin cycling through colors he'd never seen her display before. Having second thoughts, Ambassador, he asked quietly. No, she replied. I am simply recalibrating my understanding of your species. We knew humans were resourceful, but the extent of your preparation for catastrophe is unsettling. Jack smiled grimly as he strapped himself into the pilot's seat. Ambassador, you haven't seen anything yet. The Vex unleashed hell on us, thinking we'd roll over and die. Instead, they've given us something we've been secretly hoping for since we joined the galactic community. And what is that? Jack fired up the engines, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Finally, a reason to get really nasty. As the shuttle lifted off, heading toward a future that would forever change humanity's place in the cosmos, Jack couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of anticipation. The galaxy had always seen humans as the plucky newcomers, the diplomatic youngsters still finding their way. That perception was about to change dramatically. The Vex had no idea what they'd started. The Vex mothership loomed like a cancerous growth against the stars as Jack guided their shuttle toward it. Everyone remember the plan? Jack asked. Infiltrate, deploy virus, escape before explosion. Simple, Eliza replied, checking her weapon. Their infiltration went smoothly until they discovered the truth. The Vex weren't killing humans but harvesting them, storing colonists in pods connected to a massive neural network. They're farming our neural energy, Maya explained, preparing her disruptor. Everything that makes humans unique. When the Vex drones detected them, the mission became a desperate race. Kvor deployed ancient luminary weapons while Marcus set up energy barriers, buying Maya time to attach her device to the ship's organic brain center. Done. Maya announced as the disruptor hummed to life. The effect was immediate. Drones began twitching and collapsing as the hive mind lost cohesion. Their escape was simpler than expected, with confused Vex either attacking each other or shutting down completely. Victory seemed certain until an unexpected transmission reached their shuttle. Fascinating solution, came a voice like liquid mercury. We underestimated your resourcefulness. Again. Who is this? Jack demanded. We are the collectors. The Vex are merely our tools, biological drones designed to harvest interesting specimens. Your species has proven particularly flavorful. The truth stunned them all. The collectors had been cultivating humanity for centuries, guiding their development until they reached the perfect level of complexity, not to destroy them, but to consume their creativity and consciousness. So we just defeated the appetizer, and now the main course is coming, Marcus summarized. Eliza laughed sharply. If they've been cultivating us, they've made a critical error. They've spent centuries helping us become more dangerous. Jack set course for Earth, his expression grim yet somehow satisfied. Send a message to Admiral Park. Tell her we need to go beyond Protocol Omega. We need Project Pandora. What's Project Pandora? Kvor asked. Weapons and strategies so morally ambiguous they were developed with the understanding they'd never be used except in the most extreme circumstances. As they raced toward Earth, Jack couldn't help but feel a twisted satisfaction. The collectors thought themselves apex predators, but they were about to discover the truth. Humanity wasn't prey. They were the ultimate predator, just waiting for an excuse to get really, really nasty.